What if the strongest sorcerer in the modern era wasn't Gojo? What if it was someone who already lived through the apocalypse once and came back prepared? Imagine Yuta Akatsu as a child. Rika has just died. He's grieving, traumatized, alone. And then the nightmares start. Except they aren't normal nightmares. They're too detailed, too consistent. He sees Shibuya burning. He sees Sukuna standing over rubble. He sees Gojo's dead body and Megumi's soul broken beyond repair. And strangest of all, he sees himself inside Gojo's body. But he doesn't wake up in a hospital or heaven. He wakes up in the warm, golden sunlight of a playground. He looks down at his hands and finds them tiny. His legs are short. The heavy, metallic weight of his katana is gone, replaced by the plastic chain of a swing set. At first, Yuta dismisses this as a fever dream. He's haunted by flashes of a man with stitches on his forehead, a city turning to purple ash, and the sound of Gojo Satoru's voice fading into the distance as he's sealed away. As a child, he believes he simply has an overactive imagination. He tells himself that the monsters he sees, the massive, multi-armed spirits and the blood-soaked barriers, are all just bad dreams born from an anxiety he can't explain. He lives his early life in a state of constant déjà vu, feeling as though the world is moving according to a script he already read but can't quite remember. However, everything changes on the day of Rika Oramoto's accident. As Yuta stands on that sidewalk, watching her bleed, the haze in his mind doesn't just clear, it shatters. He doesn't just see the car, he remembers it. He remembers the exact smell of the asphalt, the screech of the tires, and the exact moment his heart is destined to break. But this time, he's no longer a helpless boy. He is a special-grade sorcerer trapped in a child's body. He realizes in that moment that these aren't dreams, they're the future. He's been given the ultimate cursed tool, knowledge. In the original timeline, Yuta's grief is what bound Rika in the first place. His refusal to let go and his accidental curse turned a young girl into a monster. He spent years fearing her, hiding from the world because he just didn't understand the power that he held. It took a death match from Suguru Geto for him to finally accept her. But in this new life, Yuta skips the years of trauma. This time, he knows Rika did what she did to protect him. And so, he accepts her love way early on this time. He goes with the kiss of love from the end of JJK0, the moment of absolute unconditional acceptance, way earlier. By accepting Rika for exactly what she is, a curse born of his own love, Yuta awakens her true power while he's still in elementary school. The bond is no longer one of fear or hunting, it's perfect synchronicity. Rika doesn't just follow him, she becomes a part of his soul. They become two hearts, one physical and one demonic, beating as one, years before Jujutsu High would even know Yuta's name. This early awakening means that Yuta starts his sorcery journey with a refined control over his cursed energy that his past self didn't achieve until his late teens. One might assume that with the power of a queen of curses at age 6, Yuta would rush to save the world immediately. He could have hunted down Kenjaku or stopped Suguru Geto from falling into darkness. However, Yuta's future memories include the harsh lessons of the culling games. He knows that the butterfly effect is a very real danger. If he changes too much too fast, the timeline could drift into chaos. If he saves Geto, Kenjaku will simply find a different, unknown vessel, perhaps one even more dangerous or harder to track. If he kills the Zenin elders too early, the political balance of the Jujutsu world would collapse, potentially leading to a civil war that would leave the sorcerers too weak to face Sukuna. Yuta decides that he has to be a ghost. He has to be this silent observer. He watches Suguru Geto from a distance during the Star Plasma vessel mission. He feels the shift in Geto's cursed energy as the man begins to spiral into hatred for non-sorcerers. It does break Yuta's heart, but he stays his hand. He knows that as long as Kenjaku eventually takes Geto's body, the enemy remains known. Better than unknown, right? He knows Kenjaku's moves, his plans, his limitations. If he forces the ancient sorcerer into a new host, the world would be blind to the threat. Yuta lets the events of Jujutsu Kaisen 0 play out like a scripted play. He enrolls in Jujutsu High and acts the part of the nervous, trembling transfer student. He lets Maki Zenin call him weak and lets Panda tease him. He even allows the night parade of 100 demons to happen. When he finally stands across from Geto in the school courtyard, he doesn't feel hatred, he feels pity. He fights Geto, defeats him, and watches Gojo Satoru execute his best friend for the second time in his memory. It's definitely a grueling emotional burden, but Yuta knows that Geto's corpse is the bait required to lure Kenjaku into the light. During his subsequent time in Africa with Miguel, Yuta isn't just looking for the black rope. He's focused on refinement and preparation for the Shibuya incident. He knows that 15-Finger Sukuna is a beast that defies logic, and that Kenjaku's barriers are nearly impenetrable. So, to counter this, he spends every night practicing the soul swap technique he saw Itadori use in the future. Yuta realizes that he needs a way to transfer his future data to Gojo Satoru without alerting Kenjaku's spies or the conservative higher-ups. He also secures the loyalty of Meme and Wiwi using the promise of future influence and the vast wealth of the Akatsu name. Because of his immense cursed energy overflowing at all times, he can also be easily detected by Kenjaku or even Sukuna, and so he specifically needs Wiwi's teleportation for this to work. Yuta doesn't approach anyone with his plan until one night before the big incident. He needs everything to go exactly like before so he has a maximum chance of stopping Kenjaku, Sukuna, and the culling games all at once. As October 31st approaches, the tension in the atmosphere is thick. The disaster curses, Hanami, Jogo, and Mahito, believe that they have a foolproof plan to seal the strongest sorcerer alive. They have no idea that Yuta has already played the game to its end and hit the reset button. One day before the incident, Yuta pulls Gojo aside. He doesn't tell him the whole truth, fearing that if Gojo knows the full tragedy, his subconscious behavior might change and alert Kenjaku. He tells Gojo only that Geto's body is being piloted like a puppet and that he has to step back and realize that it's not his friend. Gojo trusts his student without any question. The night of the incident arrives, and Shibuya becomes a maze of blood and veils. Yuta watches from the outskirts, feeling Gojo's presence enter the station. Inside, Gojo is a god among insects, moving with a speed that leaves the disaster spirits grasping at shadows. Gojo again uses his domain to kill over 1,000 transfigured humans in less than 5 minutes. Then comes the pivotal moment. Kenjaku steps out of the shadows wearing Geto's skin. In the original timeline, Gojo's brain was flooded with years of memories, causing just a moment of hesitation that allowed the prison realm to capture him. But in this timeline, Gojo remembers Yuta's warning. As Kenjaku calls out to him, Gojo doesn't engage. He just blinks and lunges backward, putting significant distance between himself and the cursed object. The prison realm snaps shut on empty air. And then Kenjaku's calm, smug expression contorts into a mask of pure confusion. This was not in his calculations. There was no way this could have happened. This is Yuta's cue. Using Ui's teleportation, Yuta appears directly behind Kenjaku. No offering a monologue or explanations or any wasted time. He just channels the entirety of Rika's boundless energy into his blade and swings. In the original world, Kenjaku was a master of escape, but here he's caught off guard by a version of Yuta who is far stronger than he should be at this point, with far more knowledge than he should have. Yuta cleaves through Kenjaku's neck before the ancient brain can even register the cursed energy signature. The mastermind is dead, and the culling games are effectively cancelled before the first player can even be registered. With Kenjaku dead, the disaster spirits realize that their plan has failed too. Jogo, driven by a fit of desperate rage, decides to flip the table. He knows that with Gojo free and Yuta present, the curses would be hunted down and exorcised within hours. His only option is to release the King of Curses and hope for total chaos. Jogo already had 11 fingers on him, and I bet Sukuna would instantly get the rest from Nanako and Mimiko, as he can feel his own cursed energy coming from them. So, you might be wondering, why doesn't Yuta stop this from happening? Yuta could, but he still needs to destroy Sukuna with 15 fingers, at least, so the leftovers of his fingers wouldn't be a big factor in the future. Also, after killing Kenjaku, the spirits that he was holding could go on a rampage, so if not for Gojo and Yuta erasing them right there, they could kill a lot of people. Jogo and Choso rush to find Yuji Itadori, catching him off guard with their full strength and knocking him out, pinning him down and force-feeding him all 15 fingers they collected. The atmosphere in Shibuya changes instantly. The air becomes heavy, and the scent of ozone and rotting meat fills the streets. 15-finger Sukuna awakens in Yuji's body and laughs, a sound that vibrates in the bones of every living person in the city. Choso and Mahito would make a run for it after Sukuna awakens. Sukuna doesn't come with a plan. He just comes with a hunger for destruction. He looks at Gojo and Yuta and sneers, realizing that this might actually be a challenge. However, Gojo is different this time. Before the Shibuya incident, Yuta had used the soul swap technique to train with Gojo. He shared the experience of his future fight with Sukuna, showing Gojo exactly how it felt to be inside a domain clash with the king. So now, Gojo possesses the data, as it were, on how to shrink a domain barrier to increase its durability, a trick he only learned in the original timeline after being trapped in the prison realm. So, thanks to Yuta's rebirth, Gojo enters the fight with a manual on how to beat Sukuna's open barrier domain. The fight begins with a shockwave that levels buildings. Gojo and Yuta move in perfect unison. While Gojo engages Sukuna in high-speed hand-to-hand combat, Yuta acts as the ultimate support. Sukuna is a whirlwind of cleave and dismantle, but both of them can heal their wounds fast enough to keep up. Sukuna can't just depend on domain amplification this time because it's a 2 versus 1, and he needs his other cursed techniques to hold Yuta off at least. Sukuna is on the defensive and deploys his domain expansion Malevolent Shrine, as this is his only way of getting rid of Gojo and his infinity. In response, Gojo goes on the offensive with his own domain. The massive, toothy altar erupts from the ground, and in the old world, this would have shredded Gojo's barrier from the outside. But before Sukuna's slashes can hurt his barrier or others, Gojo compresses his domain Unlimited Void down to the size of a basketball. The external shell of the domain becomes hard, resisting the relentless slashing of the shrine. Remember, in this battle of domains, Sukuna needs to decrease his range by a binding vow to increase his power of slashes, which means that the rest of the squad could easily be safe here. Within these 3 minutes, Gojo is easily stronger because the King of Curses lacks his full strength. So while they're locked in this struggle, Yuta manages the other variables. He knows that within the time required for Sukuna to destroy Gojo's domain from the outside, Gojo will damage Sukuna to the point where he wouldn't be able to use the domain later on. Urame attempts to intervene with her ice techniques, but Yuta has already summoned Kinji Hakari. Hakari, warned by Yuta weeks in advance, drops into the battlefield and brings Jogo's head with him. Hakari is here to make sure that Team Yuta doesn't suffer any more casualties. Without wasting a second, he opens his domain and traps her. Yuta directs Maki, Megumi, and the others to then assist Hakari, ensuring that the main fight between Gojo, Yuta, and Sukuna remains undisturbed. On the other side of the barrier, Gojo's domain finally falls. And while Sukuna needs to heal himself, Gojo rushes in with another domain expansion, hitting Sukuna again for 0.01 seconds of Unlimited Void. This leads to Sukuna's domain falling short of 3 minutes, and his brain getting damaged because of any use of domain. So even if both Gojo and Sukuna are unable to use their domain, it still works in favor of Yuta's final plan. Sukuna eventually realizes that he can't win a war of attrition against Gojo, who knows his secrets, and also this Yuta, who possesses bottomless reserves. There's some advantage that they have that he doesn't understand, so he attempts his final trump card early, lunging for Megumi Fushiguro to initiate a takeover. But Yuta, having lived through this tragedy once before, knows what to do and intercepts him. Rika's massive hand slams into Sukuna's chest, driving him back into a preset trap. Without Megumi's 10 Shadows technique to give himself Mahoraga and unable to get a blueprint for world-cutting slash, Sukuna is now an easy target at this point. He doesn't even have his full strength, and Araume is trapped in a domain with Hakari just hitting that jackpot after jackpot, stopping him from helping Sukuna by giving him the rest of his fingers or the weapon for him to transform into his true form. Now the specific reason why Yuta waited for the timeline to progress this far. He needed a specific sorcerer to awaken, Hiromi Higuruma. In the original timeline, Higuruma's potential was immense but underdeveloped. In this life, Yuta tracked him down to the very moment his technique manifested and explained the full weight of his power. He explained to him how Yuji is not the guy he should be going after, but Sukuna instead. Higuruma enters the fray and opens his domain, Deadly Sentencing. Inside the courtroom, violence is forbidden. So Sukuna finds himself in a prisoner's box, looking genuinely annoyed for the first time. Yuta stands as the primary witness, testifying to the crimes that Sukuna committed in the future timeline, the mass murders, the attempted genocide of the Culling Games. This is where Sukuna realizes what is actually going on, how everyone seems to know about all of his attacks and binding vows. Yuta is basically a cheat code against him at this point. So when it finally happens where Sukuna can be found guilty of his future self-crimes, the death of Nanakao and Mimiko just moments before can also play a huge role in this if the future deaths aren't valid in this court. But the verdict is still the same, and is still instant. Death penalty. Higuruma's gavel transforms into the Executioner's Sword, a weapon that can kill anyone, and can definitely kill Sukuna while leaving the host, Yuji, alive. Sukuna tries to move, but the combined pressure of the prison and Gojo's infinity and Yuta's cursed speech locks him all in place just long enough. Higuruma lunges forward and the glowing blade pierces Sukuna's heart. The 15 fingers of power evaporate into black smoke, and the King of Curses is erased forever from the world. With Sukuna gone and Kenjaku dead, the Shibuya incident ends not in tragedy this time, but in an absolute victory for the sorcerers. However, Yuta has one final piece of business. He remembers what the Zenin clan did to Maki and Mai in the original timeline. He remembers the scars, the eye Maki lost, and the sacrifice Mai had to make. So, Yuta takes Maki to the Zenin estate. He knows Maki might hesitate to commit a massacre, so he decides to bear the burden for her. He enters the estate, and with Rika's help, systematically eliminates the corrupt leadership of the clan. He wipes out the Hei and the Kukuru units in minutes, ensuring that Maki and Mai are finally free from the chains of their family. He does this to protect Maki's heart, taking the sin of the massacre upon himself so that she can live a life of peace. As the sun rises over Tokyo, the cycle of curses is finally broken. The culling games never happened. Gojo is of course the undisputed leader of the Jujutsu world, and the disaster spirits are extinct. Well, they might come back eventually, but now they're prepared. Yuji Itadori is free, Megumi Fushiguro is safe, and Yuta Akatsu looks at the horizon, finally able to rest for now. He lived twice so that his friends could live once, and the future he once saw in his nightmares has been replaced by a world of hope. Let us know what you think about this alternate timeline down in the comments down below. Let us know if you want us to do more videos on Jujutsu, or even Naruto, or One Piece, or anything else you want to bring up. So share those thoughts down in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. AniVerse signing out.